Rosalind, tell us about these sanctions and how effective they're likely to be.
Well, if any of these 5 men who have been listed in this new action have any assets that come under U.S. jurisdiction, they won't be able to have access to them. U.S. citizens are also forbidden on pain of imprisonment and fines doing any sort of financial dealing with these 5 men. Now, the 5 men in question include one man who is said to be a commander in the Haqqani network and is also acting as a shadow Taliban governor in southern Afghanistan. The other 4, as you noted, are noted financiers with ties to the Taliban or to Al-Qaeda or to both groups. Now, the conflict comes because the U.S. has, as you say, essentially accused Pakistan of not doing enough to cut down on Taliban activity and on the activities of the Haqqani network, because it is thought that both of these groups have found safe haven in the federally administered tribal areas of northwestern Pakistan. Of course, Islamabad denies all that and says that it too is a victim of extremist behavior, but still, Admiral Mullen did make that view plain last week during his congressional testimony, and so there's the situation where we are today. If anything, the issuance of this new round of sanctions, if anything, could possibly give the Obama administration some political cover, because it wants to show that it is doing all that it can to protect U.S. forces who are currently in Afghanistan, and those are the forces that find themselves engaged in battle with members of the Taliban and the Haqqani network and, of course, Al-Qaeda.
So U.S. politicians are going to be pleased about these sanctions. The irony, of course, is that the Haqqanis were once a great asset to the U.S., to the CIA, during the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan.
That's right, and that was some 20 years ago, but clearly that relationship changed overnight after the September 11th attacks, and it's worth noting that we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the start of the U.S.-led war in Afghanistan, when the U.S. started going after not just Al-Qaeda, but going after the Taliban in Afghanistan, because at the time it was alleged that the Taliban was providing safe haven to Al-Qaeda operatives, notably to Osama bin Laden and his top lieutenants. Of course, the Haqqani network was a much smaller player at the time, but certainly as the U.S. has redoubled its efforts to try to stabilize Afghanistan ahead of its pullout in 2014, it is putting more emphasis on the activities of the Haqqani network. And in an interview, notably in the past day or so, Admiral Mullen said that he thought that this attention on the Haqqani network was appropriate because he said they were, quote, killing his men, the U.S. forces deployed in Afghanistan.
Ross, thanks very much indeed for that.